देखिए जो सखी शब्द है इट्स लाइक हरि बिकॉज ई उरामांत हरि संज्ञा द वर्ड्स एंडिंग इन विद ई और आइदर ऊ they are called hari sangyas. But here it is a pratishedh prohibition sutra which says na sakhir hari sangyas tado pratistva samase. The word sakhi is not called hari when any Vishnu bhakti from ta onwards follows. So it means that even though sakhi is a hari word because it ends with a short e, it is not considered as a hari shabd on the basis of this sutra when from ta onwards, and nor is the word pati. So yeah, provided it is not in a samasa, which means that if Krishna, yeah, so this word sakhi is simply not considered hari. If it was considered as a hari shabda, then here which sutra would have been applied if sakhi was considered hari word? Anyone? अगर सखी हरि शब्द माना जाता तो कौन सा सूत्र लगना चाहिए था इस केस में? एक स्पेशल केस।
वितष्टाना न तो लक्ष्मयाम।
हाँ, और उसके अनुसार the ta is converted into na and it would have been sakina, but because of this current sutra 192, it is not considered a hari word. So what will happen is sakhi a idvameva yah sarveshwari, simple sandhi takhya, and then 3.2 is just sakhi bhyam combination. 3.3 will be sakhi bhi sararamyo. Then 4.1 will be sakhi and me. So again the prohibition sutra 192 which restricts na sakhira risangastado. If it was a hari word, then which sutra would have been applied? Any guess?
नीतो वृष्णि संज्ञा।
And then
AI.
Harer Govindo Jasi Vrishnu Shubhatecha. But Sakhi is not a hari word, so that sutra will not be applied. So simple sandhi will be done. Sakhye. Idrameva Yasarveshware. So again 4.2 and 4.3 they are same. Sakhibhyam and 4.3 is Sakhibhyah. Then comes 5.1, which is Sakhi and so in this case there is a sutra Khyatyaabhyam Nasi Nasorus. You know what I was thinking, that means we are doing the sutras and we are trying to make the forms of each word, but if it is getting too much, like the sutras, then the tables, this and that, then we can just skip the sutras for the section and just memorize the tables. Hari table, Krishna table, Sakhi table, Vishnu table, and like that. So I don't know, means because I was thinking like that. Any opinion on that point?
I also thought like that, but
Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Shlok 10, text 10. So yesterday we studied that how basically Grantha Vibhaga, the division, the divisions in the books, in the book Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So basically the book is divided into 4 sections or 4 directions either, which are the Purva Vibhaga, Dakshina Vibhaga, Paschima Vibhaga, and Uttara Vibhaga. And in the first Vibhaga, which is Purva Vibhaga, so yesterday we studied in the Purva Vibhaga, Bhakti Bheda Nirupake, the classification of various types of bhakti are described in sequence, Anukramena, in 4 further parts of that section, which are classified as the waves, Lahari. So the first, the first direction, Purva Vibhaga, has 4 Lahari or 4 waves, and 1 minute. And then the Purva Vibhaga is further divided into 4 sections, 4 waves, and the content of those 4 waves are: the first one is Samanya Bhakti, deals with the Samanya Bhakti, devotional service in general. Second one deals with Sadhana Bhakti, devotional service in practice. And third one deals with Bhava Bhakti, in ecstasy. And fourth one deals with the devotional service in prema. So today the 10th verse says, Tatra adau sushtu vaishishtyamasyah kathayitum sputam lakshanam kriyate bhaktehe uttamayah satam matam. It means that Tatra adau means there in the beginning. In the beginning means in the first wave, in the first Lahari, the Pratham Lahari of the Purva Vibhaga, Bhaktehe Sushtu Vaishishtyam Kathayitum. Asyaha. Asyaha here stands for Bhaktehe, of Bhakti. Vaishishtyam means the greatness, Vaishishtyam. And Sushtu. Sushtu means Vishesha Rupena, which means nicely, Kathayitum, to describe. So, to nicely describe the predominance, prominence, or the speciality of bhakti in the first wave of Purva Vibhaga, Uttamayah Bhaktehe Satam Matam Lakshanam Kriyate. The Lakshana or the symptoms of Uttama Bhakti have been described, which have been accepted by the Satam. Satam means the devotees, those who are well versed or expert in this matter. So to establish the superiority of Bhakti, so in the very first wave, which means the very next shloka, Anya Abhilashita Shunyam, it describes the symptoms of Uttama Bhakti as accepted by the authorized devotees, authentic devotees. So this is the meaning. Commentary is like Tatra Adav iti Tatra purva vibhaga gata prathama laharyan. So tatra shabd means the prathama, in the pratham lahari, in the first wave of the first eastern division, purva vibhaga. Adav stands for prathamaha eva. Adav means in the very beginning. Prathamatah eva. Uttamayah bhaktehe lakshanam kriyate pratipadyataya abhidhiyate. The symptoms of Uttama Bhakti have been dealt with. Na tu sarvatmikayah means only the symptoms of pure devotional service have been described, but pure devotional service is not dealt with or described in full detail. That will be done afterwards. But here only the main symptoms of pure devotional service have been described, will be described, but not the full aspect of pure devotional service. Tatra hetuhu sushtu vaishishtyam kathayitumithi. And what is the reason for mentioning the symptoms of Uttama Bhakti? The symptom is, the hetu or nimitta is sushtu vaishishtyam kathayitum. To describe nicely the superiority or the speciality of Bhakti, Vaishishtyam. अन्यत्र अन्य अभिलाष ज्ञान कर्म आदि अनावृतत्वेन अपूर्ण बलत्वात् एतत् अंशतः एव अस्याः तादृशत्व व्यक्तेः यस्यास्ति भक्तिर्भगवती अकिंचना इत्यादिश्च. So just 1 minute. Yes, so it means anyatra anyabhilasha. Anyatra anyabhilasha jnana karmadi anavritattvena apurna balatvat. That when bhakti is covered, avrita is covered by anya abhilasha, jnana, karma, and so on. So then the bhakti, the pure devotional service, cannot exhibit its full potency or its full strength. And etat anshatah eva. And in that case, when the pure devotional service is covered or is concealed by anya abhilash, gyan, karma, and so on, so the characteristics or the symptoms of pure devotional service only exhibit themselves anshata, partially and not fully. Why? Because the pure devotional service is covered by the other aspects. So those aspects conceal and restrict the exhibition of the symptoms of pure devotional service to its fullest extent. And that's why it is understood from the verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, Yasyasti Bhaktir Bhagavati Akinchana, that only one who is endowed with pure devotional service, Yasya Bhagavati Akinchana Bhakti Asti Anvaya, one who is having Akinchana Bhakti or Kevala Bhakti or Avyabhicharini Bhakti in Bhagwan, only in that person the symptoms, the qualities, the characteristics of pure devotional service exhibit themselves in their fullest, to their fullest extent. So this is basically a pramana from Srimad Bhagavatam proving this point, that only when pure devotional service is uncovered by any other aspect, then only it can reveal its full qualities or characteristics or symptoms. in anyone. And this is a famous verse supporting this argument. And yes, so now it starts with the description of the symptoms of Shuddha Bhakti. So this is very famous verse. Anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karmadhyanabritam anukulyena krishnanu shilanam bhaktiruttama. Anyabhilashita shunyam. Anya stands for Anyabhi. Anya stands for those desires, Anyabhilasha, which are separate from the desires which are favorable in bhakti, which are conducive or favorable in bhakti. So those are the Anya Abhilasha. So Uttama Bhakti is that bhakti which is devoid of those desires which are pratikula, contrary to the desires which are supposed to be there in Shuddha Bhakti. So Uttama Bhakti is basically devoid of all other desires except for desires in Krishna consciousness. Then Jnana Karma Adi Anavritam. That Uttama Bhakti is not covered by the symptoms of Jnana and the symptoms of Karma and so on. Now, means this is a very elaborate topic actually, and we can discuss it day and night. But in short, in nutshell, Uttama Bhakti is not covered by the symptom of Jnana. What does that mean? That when one is engaged in Uttama Bhakti, so he does not want to get liberated from material miseries. Means that is the main point or the main objective of the Jnanis. That they want to be, they want to get liberated from material miseries. But in Uttama Bhakti, that is not the chief or the primary goal. And the objective or the symptom of karma is material benefit, prosperity. But a person engaged in Uttama Bhakti is not even after material prosperity. In yoga, siddhis are the symptoms or the results. And one engaged in Shuddha Bhakti is not after, even after, the siddhis. So a pure devotee engaged in Uttama Bhakti has got nothing to do with Gyan, Karma and so on. Let me just mention something here in this. There is a concept which is Guni Bhuta Bhakti. Then there is a concept which is Pradhani Bhuta Bhakti. And the topmost level is Kevala or Shuddha or Uttama Bhakti. So what the difference is, in Guni Bhuta Bhakti, a person engages in either karma or jnana and so on, either in karma or jnana or yoga and so on, plus he engages himself in bhakti. But this part is prominent. He spends more of his time and energy on this part. So let us put it like this. If a person is on the status or is eligible for karma, he will perform karma like this. Oops. Which means he also gives time to bhakti, means performing Shravana, Kirtan, and so on. But his main focus is on karma. Similarly, there are those eligible for jnana. They perform jnana more and bhakti less. And similarly with yoga and bhakti. So, Guni Bhuta means bhakti is considered here to be secondary. That is Guni, Gaun. One is Mukhya and what is Gaun. So here, bhakti is secondary. The performance of bhakti is secondary. Because a person in this category, he is not very much convinced, or he is rather convinced of karma, jnana, and yoga to be giving more results and to be more beneficial than bhakti. But still, he performs bhakti, but in a very limited quantity. But in Pradhani Bhuta Bhakti, bhakti is the primary thing. So in this case, he performs bhakti more than karma. He performs bhakti more than jnana. He performs bhakti more than yoga. Uh, Although a person is engaged in karma, jnana, yoga, according to his adhikara, his eligibility or qualification, but still he performs bhakti, exclusive devotion to Krishna, and he gives more time to that devotion, devotional practices. For example, if he spends 6 hours a day performing karma, his prescribed duty in Varna, according to Varnashrama system, then he is spending at least 8 to 10 hours in performing direct devotional service. So that is Pradhani Bhuta Bhakti, primary. But in Kevala or Shuddha or Uttama Bhakti, a person is beyond karma, jnana, yoga. He's beyond the duties of Varnashrama system, and he's just performing bhakti. Only bhakti, only bhakti, and only bhakti. So this is the status which is being mentioned by Srila Rupa Goswami in the verse Anya Bhilashita Shunyam Ityadi. So when Jiva Goswami, Rupa Goswami is mentioning Anya Bhilashita Shunyam, so he's not mentioning about Guni Bhuta Bhakti, and he's not even mentioning about Pradhani Bhuta Bhakti. He's mentioning about this Bhakti which is fully, not partially, which is fully devoid of any sort of karma, jnana, and yoga. So this is the point. So that is what is jnana karma adi anavritam. Anukulyena Krishna Anushilanam. So Anukulyena means, we'll study in commentary what Anukulyena means. And Krishna Anushilanam, normal meaning is Anushilan means devoted service, repeated study or practice. So he is practically engaged in service of Sri Krishna with a favorable attitude, Anukulyena. And that is Uttama Bhakti. So this is, I just mentioned the word to word in a briefly, but the commentary will elaborate on it very nicely. And the commentary is quite long, so I was thinking that it is still here. We'll just have a glance of this verse in the PPT, which I have, fortunately. then we'll deal with the commentary on Monday. Very nice commentary, actually. Yeah, so Anukulyana, the translation goes like, when first class devotional service develops, one must be devoid of all material desires, knowledge obtained by monastic philosophy and fruitive action. The devotee must constantly serve Krishna favorably as Krishna uh, desires. Just one thought from my side. It was my contemplation. You can also share. Like the word Anukulya and Krishna Anushilanam, they're very interesting actually. The the word Anukulya is made up of the word Anukula. Anukula. And Anukula means favorable. So Anukulya is made from the word Anukula, which means favorable. And the next word is Anushilanam. Anushilan means practice, or it's more like a practical thing, a service. So if we see little scrutinizingly, then being favorable is a passive state, and Anushilan is an active state. Means a person is favorable to Krishna is a passive state. Means he's not doing something practically. It's just within him that he is favorable to Sri Krishna and his service, but he's not doing. But Anushilana means he's doing something practical, devoted service or practice, and that is an active state. So, some people, for example, like ISKCON devotees, let's suppose some ISKCON devotees, they go to a new place to preach, and they open up a center there, and they start preaching, and they advertise, they promote their Sunday programs. So what will happen is there will be three kind of persons. The first kind of person will be a person who is not coming to the center and who is not practicing and who is not even favorable to the program. He is a pratikul. He is pratikul. He is unfavorable to the idea that why this Hare Krishna is happening here. Means they don't want it here. So that is pratikula. So this is first kind of person. So second kind of person will be those persons who are not pratikula, who are not against that whatever happening, but who are not even practicing, who are not even coming and attending the lectures, the kirtans in the center. They are staying at their homes and they are even not practicing, but they are anukul, they are favorable. They are like, oh, अच्छा हो रहा है, बहुत अच्छा हो रहा है, होने दो, चलने दो. So they are anukula in a passive state, but they are not actively participating in the program. But the third kind is those people, first of all, they are not pratikul, but they are anukul, that whatever is happening is right, and they are even participating in the programs, in bhakti programs in the center. So they are anukul plus, and they are doing anushilan also. So they are having both the feelings. They are also passive and they are also active. This was just my thought on Anukula and Anushilana, which I thought was quite relevant because it's quite practical. We deal with it many times. Some people, they are just pratikul. Some, they are not pratikul, but they are not even Anushilan. They are just Anukul. Okay, whatever is happening is good. Let it go. Means let it happen. But when we ask them to participate, they are like, no, we don't have much time, this and that. But the third kind of people are those who are anukula, favorable, and they are also participating. So a Shuddha Bhakta who is engaged in Uttama Bhakti must be having both the things. He must be anukul, he must be favorable to devotional service, and he must engage himself fully in that devotional service. Only passive feeling will not work. It's like a wife, having a passive feeling towards her husband, that, oh, I love you so much. But when the husband asks for some service, or he asks for some help, like when he comes after his office to home, he asks a cup of water, and the wife says, no, no, I just love you, I love you so much. But the wife does not render any practical service, and the husband is thirsty. So that is not really a love, sign of love or bhakti. So similarly, if one is just showing himself to be anukul and is not practically engaging in Krishna's devotional service, especially the ninefold devotional service, so he cannot be counted uh, into bhakti culture. And what to speak of Uttama Bhakti? So Uttama Bhakti is both anukulyena, favorably, and service, anushilani. So any thought upon this? Maybe you can share. Otherwise, we'll stop here. So okay, we'll stop here. Thank you very much.